the pressure will be entirely off Nicola Sturgeon. Presumably there is going to be a wing of the SNP saying, we want an independence referendum and we want it now, or at least we want to be told when it's going to be.
I think there's always going to be an element of the SNP that is just going to want a referendum tomorrow. But I think Kevin's right that the confusion over Brexit means that there's a very clear line that Nicola Sturgeon can take, which is, look, we don't know what the constitutional position of the UK is going to be for at least 2 years come next year. So let's wait until we get some clarity before we hold another vote. And, you know, we've seen some quite senior voices in the SNP that are moving towards that position, you know, saying, look, we need to push this further down the road, not least because they clearly don't have a majority for it at the moment, and, you know, it would be self-sabotage to go for it at the moment. Yeah,
I mean, the danger for the SNP, Kevin, taking your point about it takes the pressure off them in one sense, but there's also another sense, isn't there, in which they're coming over, the events are just passing them by to some extent at the moment, aren't they? There's all this debate doesn't really involve them, and they're left on the sidelines saying, if we don't get what we want, we'll have another independence referendum.
Yeah, they come out of the traps immediately after the 23rd. Nicola Sturgeon and her party. Nicola Sturgeon looked like very statesmanlike. She seemed to be offering leadership, and she was sabre rattling about independence. And even people in England were saying, you know, in the midst of all this confusion, this woman seems to know what she's doing. This leader from Scotland. But in 3 months, that has fizzled out. And you're absolutely right. While there's been confusion at the upper echelons of the Conservatives about Europe, there seems to now be a degree of confusion in the same areas of the SNP as to how do we make something of this? What do we make how is this an opportunity for us to advance the case for independence? And if so, do we do it now, or do we wait far closer to the day when...
Useful in that case, though, Lindsay, would be some, if they got some commitments from anybody senior in Europe on anything.
Well, they need a lot of commitments from senior people in Europe to make anything happen there. And I think, as you said earlier, there was a big push from Nicola Sturgeon early doors to try and get those commitments, and they don't seem to have been forthcoming. And I mean, let's be honest here, in Europe, we've got a number of national elections, we've got Brexit. Okay. Scotland's low down the list, I think.
All right, we'll have to leave it there.